Good morning or good afternoon, depending upon your time zone. My name is Rob Glenn. I'm the Vice President for Global Resilience at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation and responsible for disaster programming. This is a U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation call, excuse me, focused on the Hawaii wildfires. At the foundation, we believe in the power of business to create solutions for the good of America and the world. We come to work every day to anticipate, develop, and deploy solutions to challenge facing communities. And in volatile times like this one, we swiftly connect those who provide critical resources and help to those communities that need it. We're exceptionally saddened by the losses of the devastating wildfires in Hawaii, most significantly on Maui. And we offer our sincere condolences to all those who have been impacted and affected. We really cannot ignore the human toll and the opportunity to step in and take action. As many of you know, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce works with companies, nonprofits, and governments to help coordinate the business community's humanitarian response and maximize the impact of aid. Currently, we are tracking nearly 50 companies actively working with trusted partners or providing monetary donations, and this can be found on our corporate aid tracker on our website. We know that this is just the start for the private sector to respond to this disaster, and in many cases, the private sector has been responding even before the declaration. For our part, we have a National Small Business Help Desk that's been activated for more than a week, helping impacted small businesses, and we'll also continue to help them navigate not only federal programs that are coming online, but also next steps for long-term recovery. We also assist companies in navigating where to find gaps in disaster response and recovery and offer potential solutions against these challenges. If you have any questions about this, please email us at resilience@uschamber.com. But as we're seeing and what we will hear shortly from those on the ground supporting the response, including ongoing search and recovery operations, the hardship for those that have been displaced because of the fires is profound. We will hear from the Chamber Foundation, the Deputy Administrator from FEMA, the State of Hawaii Department of Business Economic Development, the Hawaii Chamber of Commerce, the Maui Chamber of Commerce, the American Red Cross, and also the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. Before I turn it over to Carolyn Cowley, our president of the foundation, just wanted to share that our goals of the call today are to share perspective on the situation and what the private sector can do and is doing to assist in the disaster. We also want to highlight immediate needs for what the business community can do to assist, and also raise awareness of programs available, clarify processes, and also just identify challenges that really need some attention and action. Carolyn has a personal and a professional story to share today, and for that perspective, I'll turn it over to Carolyn.
Great. Thank you, Rob, and hello, everyone. Thank you, Rob and the team and everyone on this call for the work that you've been doing. I just wanted to take a minute to say that I'm feeling really privileged to be in a job and work with people like all of you who have the opportunity to help and to make a difference. I know that not everyone has that. My family is from Lahaina. My mother's family is from there. I have spent months of every year of my life there, and I know it quite well. My family is okay, but property and homes were lost, and of course, a lot of memories and family history along with the history of the town and of the island. So I just wanted to come on and say hello and thank you to all of the first responders and helpers and the wider disaster community and business community. It really is very meaningful. And as Pamela Tumpop said earlier, it's one big ohana, one big family there in Hawaii. And I just really appreciate the opportunity to join you today and to say thank you to everyone. Lahaina is a very special place, and we're going to do our best from all over the world and all over the country, and certainly from here at the foundation to help make things better for survivors and for the next phase. So thank you, Rob, for giving me a minute, and we're going to be watching all of this and listening very intently on what can be done to help.
Thanks, Carolyn. We're joined by Eric Hooks. Eric is the Deputy Administrator for FEMA. FEMA has been involved, certainly responding and supporting the state of Hawaii and the communities there since the start of the disaster. Mr. Hooks, thanks for joining us today, and I'll turn it over to you for your perspective.
All right, thank you for allowing me to be with you today. We continue to be decisively engaged, working with our state, federal, and volunteer partners on the ground to provide relief and to support the people of Hawaii. Our main priority right now continues to be search and recovery operations as we navigate the large loss of life that they are certainly tragically enduring. We are committed to help Maui navigate this painful time and to help survivors jumpstart their recovery. To date, FEMA has approved more than $2.3 million in assistance to over 1,300 households, including approximately $800,000 in initial rental assistance. You know, one of the things, and I'm sure you have seen in the news and you have heard, that the level of damage and loss in the affected areas is not like anything that we've experienced before. We recognize that disaster recovery will be a long haul for everyone involved. We have over 450 FEMA staff on island, with more on the way. We also have over 100 federal interagency partners working here out of DC at the National Response Coordination Center. Their mission will be to continue to help survivors so that they can rebuild their lives and this outstanding community. There are more than 190 search and rescue team members deployed to assist in the search and recovery operations, and they're working hand in hand with state and local officials to make sure that this process is methodical and precise while respecting the sensitivities of this community that's been devastated. We're committed to respecting the deep roots in this community as we go about our work. And we're mindful of the historic and cultural reality of Maui and its people. And so we will undertake every task with humility and great understanding and respect for those communities that we are serving. Maui County Emergency Management is working hand in hand with us and has opened a family assistance center for residents who are trying to locate loved ones and those that are unaccounted for. A FEMA and State Disaster Recovery Center is now open on the island, where wildfire survivors can speak to FEMA specialists, get in touch with volunteer organizations, and have access to other federal and state resources. We are encouraging those that can log on and visit the website at www.disasterassistance.gov. They also can call at 1-800-621-3362 or use the FEMA app if they have access to a mobile device. We want to reach survivors as quickly as we can and get them to register for assistance. So far, we have over 4,600 survivors who have registered with FEMA, and this number is increasing day by day. As of earlier today, we have 620 registered families that are eligible for lodging to be paid for at hotels by FEMA, and we expect that number to grow in the coming days as well. And through our one-time critical needs assistance payments, we've processed nearly $870,000 for survivors, and will continue to flow payments as registrations increase. FEMA, of course, is working hand in hand with the Red Cross, the state and county officials to ensure survivors are receiving the immediate assistance that they need. And any survivor who leaves a shelter for a hotel room or other housing option will still be eligible for the same services that are being offered at those shelters. We also want to emphasize that there are a variety of FEMA assistance options available to survivors. In addition to temporary stays at hotels and the $700 immediate payout to survivors, survivors can also receive rental assistance funds to repair and rebuild their homes and eventually rebuild this community after these wildfires. We've been in great and close contact with Governor Green, and Governor Green and the state of Hawaii has established the Housing Finance Development Corporation previously, and they have launched the Hawaii Fire Relief Housing Program aimed at connecting Maui residents affected by the wildfires with property owners and vacant housings. This coordination between all levels of government and private entities and the business community is going to be essential to our recovery in the days and weeks and months to come. We also want to make sure that we lift up our support of all families that are eligible for government services. And so for that reason, we must get people to register as quickly as they can with our programs and with our communities and in a variety of ways. We want to meet those individuals where they are. And so registration will continue to happen in person, in shelters, and we will set up and we should be setting up our DRC where we will be receiving individuals that can come in for a one-stop place where they can get access to the assistance that they need. So again, I thank you for the opportunity. Our deepest condolences to the families who have lost so much, but I want them to know that FEMA and the rest of the federal interagency will remain with them, and we will remain partnered with you all on this call, as well as our volunteer organizations to rebuild Hawaii.
Thank you, Mr. Hooks. And just as a reminder, after we get through all of the perspectives shared from the briefers, we will have facilitated Q&A. Just put your questions to the chat, and given that there are over 400 organizations represented on this call as of a few hours ago, we're just going to really just facilitate the questions in that manner. It'll help cut down on a lot of "can you hear me" kind of comments back and forth, but also we can get the answers back to you. Also, as we're working our way through the call, there are different resources that are mentioned, such as those that were just mentioned by Deputy Administrator Hooks. And so we'll also be including those in some follow-up communication as well. I'd like to turn it over to the state of Hawaii and hear from Director James Tokioka, the Department of Business, Economic Development and Tourism from the state of Hawaii. And sir, just to turn it over to you. And I know that it's been very challenging, to say the least. I'd really like to hear what you see as some of the needs are, but also some of the solutions as well.
Thank you very much, Rob. As people can see all over the country and all over the world, the devastation that has happened in Lahaina, our hearts and prayers go out to the families who are still struggling. And I was very touched and impressed by Deputy Administrator Hook's comments about what we're doing here as a team, because it truly is a team. I will tell you, Deputy Administrator, that when Bob Fenton, who is here, took control of what's happening on the island or on the state, he is an amazing resource that you have, and very, very well respected in the islands. Red Cross has been here. There are many, many people who are helping at the Red Cross, but the one that is situated in my situation and communication room right next door to me is Denise Everhart. So for the Red Cross folks who are listening, Denise, when she moved into our space here, it's been an amazing collaboration, because as you can only imagine, and all of you, many of you have been involved in disasters around the country before. Everybody tries to help, and everybody's trying to block rooms in a situation like this. And the state was blocking rooms, and FEMA was blocking rooms, and the Red Cross was blocking rooms. And there were only so many rooms on that area of the island. So once Denise got involved and we collaborated the reservations of the rooms and the organization of it, everything is going a lot smoother. I said earlier on the call that, she's a firecracker and she gets things going. She's, pushing us along to get rooms. And so it's a great collaboration. So that's what's happening now. The first step was to get victims of the fire out of the shelters. So we've been working on that since Wednesday afternoon, and it's been a 24-hour operation since. The next step, after we get the people out of the shelter, and our goal is to get them out by the weekend. But what we found out also is when they were going to interview people to relocate them, a lot of people didn't want to go back into the area because they still were, traumatized by everything that happened. So they were fine staying on the east side of the island and didn't want to go back to the west side. And you can imagine that for me personally, we would have thought that they would want to get out of the shelter, but there were some families who didn't want to go. And the families that did get into the hotels were in tears, and they were so happy. Governor Green went out to the hotels, and they were so happy to see him. They were so happy to know that they were going to be in a hotel there with a shower and air conditioning and food service at the hotel. So all of the agencies worked really, really hard to make that happen. So we cannot thank the organizations enough. Deputy Administrator Glenn, your team has been incredible, and so has the Red Cross. So thank you for sending them out here. I will add to what you said, Deputy Administrator, about the DRC. It's going to be set up next to the airport at the old Lowe's warehouse for people who are watching from Hawaii that wanted to know where it was. So, that's being set up by the state. The other report that I wanted to talk about is once we get them out of the shelters, the survivors, the next thing, and into hotels, the next thing we're going to try to do is get them into, more of a, whether it's a timeshare or a condo situation, because you have people who, we want to get them to more of a normalcy situation where they have kitchens, they have refrigerators, they have, a parking space, a yard. So that is our goal. We appreciate you mentioning the HHFDC program. We have 600 properties that were made available. We had 700 requests for housing received for 2,200 individuals. So once again, thank you for mentioning that, Deputy Director Glenn. But they're going to have to go through a process with the owner of the properties to get housing for them. We are also setting up, and this is where the chamber comes in, and Sherry Menor-McNamara has been an incredible advocate for businesses for many, many years now. We've worked together, but the governor tasked me to set up a working group task force for the economic recovery of that devastating fire. So we'll be working with a lot of organizations and local leaders. I'm certainly going to be reaching out to the Chamber, Pamela on Maui, and other organizations on Maui to talk about path forward when it comes to economic recovery. So that's all I wanted to report for now. And I once again just thank all of you for all of the work that you've done to get the word out to people. The last thing I will say is, if there are people who are watching who are considering going to Maui, please be respectful of the area and don't make it a tourist attraction. People's lives are still, people who have passed have not even been identified yet. So that would be, we don't want people going in there and making it a tourist attraction. So thank you. Maui still needs the business, but please be respectful of that. So thank you very much for this opportunity to address the group.
Thanks for all of your work, and also as you're recognizing the lives and livelihoods are potentially changed forever and may not necessarily come back the same way. And Sherry and Pamela, Sherry Menor-McNamara, the CEO and president of the Hawaiian Chamber of Commerce, and Pamela, who leads the Maui Chamber of Commerce. I'll turn over to you to talk next about what you're seeing, what you're doing, and where you think the private sector can really lean in. So Sherry, I'll turn it over to you first, and thanks again for all of your partnership.
Thank you so much. Aloha, everyone. My name is Sherry Menor-McNamara with the Chamber of Commerce, Hawaii. First, I'd be remiss if I did not thank the U.S. Chamber and the U.S. Chamber Foundation for their tremendous support. Immediately after the fire started, the next day, they reached out to say, what can we do to help you? And really, without their guidance and walking us through this, we probably would not be here talking with you. So I just wanted to extend our warmest appreciation to everyone at the U.S. Chamber Foundation for their support. And also to the federations from the ACCE to WACE. Those two organizations also reached out to see how they could help. So it's truly heartwarming to have that support from across the nation to wanting to help Hawaii, the state of Hawaii, more specifically Maui. So mahalo to all of you. And then again, Jimmy Tokioka, the DBID director, who has been a strong advocate for business. He comes from that background. He's a former legislator. He's from Kauai, so he himself has experienced disasters such as Hurricane Iniki and was also involved in helping rebuild Kauai. So, can't think of a better person to be in the DBID position. And you also hear from Kuhio Lewis, who is part of the Council of Native Hawaiian Advancement Organization. He has been a key leader, instrumental, very visionary, but also on the ground in advocating for the Native Hawaiian community and Hawaii in general. So we thought it was really critical for him to be on this call, as Lahaina does have or did have a large Native Hawaiian population. And of course, our partner, Pam Toompop from the Maui Chamber, who's been boots on the grounds and working 24/7, I'm sure, with her team to ensure that the businesses and the community are supported. So I just have a brief PowerPoint presentation to present. Maybe it's not. Rob, do you have the presentation?
I think it's getting displayed right now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next slide. Just briefly, we are the state chamber. As with any other chamber of commerce, we advocate for our local business community and their employees. We have about 2,000 member companies statewide, representing more than 200,000 employees. So it definitely is a large percentage of our population, and many who are on Maui as well through the support of Maui Chamber. Next slide. So just briefly about Lahaina, I'm sure you've been hearing it in the news as well, and I'm sure Kuhio can touch upon more about it. Lahaina was once the capital of the Hawaiian Kingdom. It's about 13,000 residents, but the 13,000 residents definitely was part of the visitor industry, and you'll see there, Maui's #1 industry is tourism. 30% of all Hawaii's tourism, and 32% of Hawaii visitor spending. So definitely this has impacted the local economy, and it's going to take a while to rebuild. Front Street, many of you might have been there before, have had many memories about it. Unfortunately, the entire Front Street is gone. It's definitely a historic street for Hawaii, and more specifically Lahaina. And the largest banyan tree in the United States is also there. And Pam can tell us more, but it is still standing. And we were talking about it earlier. While it will take a lot of work to rehabilitate, it's the resiliency and the concept of Lalima, all hands working together to keep the tree alive as a symbol of hope and moving forward. Next slide. As far as the economic impact, so even before the wildfires started, there was a housing state of emergency for the state of Hawaii. We are very much strong or a very large shortage of housing, and especially on Maui. So with Lahaina completely gone, it's going to take a while to rebuild, but how can we rebuild efficiently, effectively to get our residents housed again? And at this time, it's a little bit too early to determine how many businesses have impacted, but we know for sure it's going to be in the hundreds of businesses that were burned down, thousands of employees out of work, and then also the domino effect. Many businesses that were not or are not located in Lahaina are also impacted indirectly because they did business with Lahaina and also do a lot of business with the visitor industry. Next slide. So I don't need to go through this, but because the media has been covering this extensively. But just to the last point, Moody's Analytics say it's going to be more than a $7 billion economic impact. We think it's going to be more, especially when we're looking at this long-term economic recovery. Next slide. So for our chamber, we've learned from the pandemic to be prepared, right? To set the groundwork. And a lot of focus, and rightfully so, has been on the emergency relief to ensure the residents and those impacted have the resource they need. And there's a number of wonderful organizations, Hawaii Community Foundations, Kuhio's organization, CNHA, American Red Cross, a number of others that have funds and are doing a tremendous amount of work in ensuring that relief and resources are provided to those impacted. For the chamber, we're looking at the next phase, the economic recovery phase, to help our local businesses and their employees to get back on their feet and to be able to get that paycheck and move forward. So we did set up a business relief fund. You can find it on cochawaii.org. It would be very helpful if we could get your support for this fund. So that way, once our fund is built, the moment we start working with the businesses as well as employees, we can deploy the funds immediately. And that will entail working with the Maui Chamber as well and other businesses there to determine where the needs are. So the fund, it's going to be critical that we build up that fund. Pam can probably talk more about this as well as Kuhio, donating bulk items and equipment. I believe they need more solar generators, diapers, and just other items. But again, I'll have Pam and Kuhio talk more about that. Mental health. In Hawaii, where we say there's 6 degrees of separation, Hawaii, it's more like 1 or 2 degrees of separation. So I'm sure each and every one of us knows someone who was impacted by the wildfires. And so we know that mental health services is going to be critical to the recovery effort as well. And then also providing guidance and next steps for businesses and their employees. Next slide. And I believe that's it. But mahalo for taking the time to be on this call. It truly means a lot, and very grateful for all the support that our state is receiving from across the nation and around the world, because it is that kind of collaborative support that will help rebuild our economy, as well as Maui, the community, and our state. So thank you very much for your time. And I'm going to turn it over now to Pam Tupop, who is the president of the Maui Chamber and who I mentioned earlier. It's been boots on the grounds and working so hard 24/7 in supporting the local community there.
Thank you so much, Sherry, and thank you always for your great partnership and your leadership. We too want to thank all of the amazing first responders. When you hear the story, it's pretty devastating, and we are so grateful to have such strong support, with our mayor, with our governor, with our state, with all of our elected officials, county, state, federal level jumping in, with President Biden signing the declaration early, the disaster declaration. We've been very blessed, but there is still an uphill road. And as Sherry mentioned, Maui is very dependent on tourism. We're the island in Hawaii most dependent on tourism. We've known that coming out of COVID, seeing great devastation there. And we had a housing crisis, as she mentioned. So this is a very critical time for us to look at how we get back to the economic engine that was primarily based in Lahaina. We do have, as has been said, we do have other areas of the island open. So we are asking people to respect and stay out of West Maui, the Lahaina side, and to please visit other areas of our island. Still so many gorgeous areas that can be shared. And I want to share a few slides with you as well. And we also ask people to be respectful when they're on the island, because again, we're dealing with so much hurt and devastation right now. So let me just share a few screens with you here. You know, Maui has always been a vibrant place of culture and history and stunning landscapes. And we've had a very resilient community. And now this is a paradise that has captured hearts from around the world. And one of the things we do is we've been fielding is amazing calls for support and help. And this is a marathon, not a sprint. We need all help possible, and I'll help you understand why. As the numbers are coming in, everybody wants data. We still don't have the data, but hundreds of businesses are going to be impacted. And if time allows, I'm happy to share stories. This is that resilient banyan tree. This is a place that many who visit Lahaina cherish. It's over 150 years old, and it is it's something that so many people have pictures of. Pictures are shared all over the internet. It's a place that everybody frequents. We have to remember that our fires are not 100% out. Kula Upcountry fire is still 75% contained, estimated 678 acres damaged. Lahaina fire, 85% contained, estimate 2,170 acres damaged. Pulehu Kie fire is 100% contained. Ka'anepali fire that came up the other day has been extinguished. And by the way, contained does not mean that it is extinguished. This is an example of the damage and devastation we saw in Lahaina. So if you look at the data just within food service and accommodation establishment and restaurant and retail establishments, we have hundreds of businesses there, many of them, the majority of them in sort of that central area that you just saw that was burned, with thousands of employees. And you can see the kinds of revenue that those businesses were bringing in. This is an example of Front Street. Front Street was also a place where our Maui Island community came together. This is a picture back from 4th of July celebration. And you could see how fast the fire swept this area. They say it was like a bullet just ravaging through. This is more devastation along this area. And when it comes to rebuilding, we've been spending at the Maui Chamber of Commerce 1.5 years working with our planning commission and our county and the planning department as they were looking at sea level rise. And obviously this is right off the sea level. So this is another thing that will be taken into consideration on how we rebuild. This is just more examples. We also had bigger commercial areas in here that house many businesses in the commercial spaces, including our outlet mall. This is Lahaina Harbor. Now you might notice that on the before picture, there were a lot of boats. When the fire hit, not only did it get to the harbor and hit the boats, but it also hit moorings. And these are many commercial activity companies that have been devastated. And those boats are severely damaged. They were banging around in the harbor. One of our companies, Atlanta Submarines, the submarine has been damaged. The boat that took people to the submarine has been damaged. Just with the damage to their office at the wharf, which burned down, their shop on Front Street in Lahaina, their maintenance shop, the sub, they already have a $20 million loss without any other economic factors. So we are continuing to update the stats. I noticed Sherry's slide said 109. So since this morning when we checked it, that may have gone up to 109 from 106. It's changing every day, and we're told that we're still early on in the recovery process. Here you get a quick snapshot of number of structures that have been damaged, commercial and industrial. Many of our businesses, because we're being respectful, understanding the recovery work that's going on, many business owners haven't even seen their business locations to determine the extent of the damage. Many community banks in the area were leveled. And it was very hard to reach people during the past week. We're on day 8 today. It's been very hard to reach people with the power out, communications down, and they've had no water. And we've been working hard to just get things like resources to the other side, work with registering companies to take in fuel to fuel the generators for the grocery stores and for the hotels and others. Trying to get insurance agents out there so that they can serve their client in this devastated area, and the clients don't have to try and find them and process those claims on site. But the good news is that power, you can see here, Maui Electric Company, it's now under Hawaiian Electric Company, has reported that they've restored all but 2,000 of their 12,400 customers who lost power. So things are getting better. Starlink communications have gone out. As you know, Sherry mentioned, some of the things are going out. We're still looking for more generators. Over 4,000 people have been in the different shelters. And our efforts have been safety and well-being, trying to check on our members, which again was hard with communications out. Damage assessment, trying to help people to get in and see the damage. Residents were able to go back in yesterday. It's gone back and forth for the last 2 days, and it's because people are not being respectful of the recovery areas and not following the police rules. So with road closures opening and then closing, it's been problematic, but again, it's open today and more businesses are able to check on their business. We've been communicating in every vehicle we can, social media, through e-blasts, our Business Matters radio show. We have an online hub of information, calling people, telling them that first register for FEMA, and then that will kick you into the SBA registration. You'll learn first from FEMA, and then you'll go through the SBA process. For homes as well, many people don't think of the SBA for homes, for businesses, and for equipment loans. However, we're also hearing that many businesses are saying, I don't know if I can take out another loan. I already have an SBA loan, and I don't know if I can survive adding more debt onto my business when I don't know if we're going to reopen. So that'll take you to some of our solutions. Again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And we are providing direct business assistance, also working with the Small Business Development Center, who does that as well. And many business people that are retired have come forward, sharing that their team are ready to come over. We're not really ready yet to bring more people on island, as we're trying to handle housing all of the, not only those who are in shelters, but all of the responders who are coming in to help. We too are fundraising, and there is many fundraising campaigns going on, and it's all needed. But we see a lot in the health and welfare and social service area. So we are fundraising and have a campaign to help impacted businesses and their employees. And we're partnering with the West Maui Taxpayers Association to support fundraising for their fire station that they've been fundraising for over a decade. And had those stations been in place, we would have had a very different situation. And we're making local community connections, coordinating with government, and handling all sorts of calls to help, and trying to do as much press as we can to help people understand what we need and where we're at. We have big asks. Hundreds of businesses have been affected, and we want to get emergency business grants. We know FEMA will help them with grants, but we want to take these businesses who are out of business in the areas that have been leveled and work to resume their business activities as quickly as possible through collaborative pop-ups and online sales. So we want to do grants to get them over some expense humps. We want to give them some pocket money so that we can keep some of their people employed as we start pivoting. We want to do a business continuity plan, and we're asking for help to support $2 million of activity in that area. We also want some direct employee support for business employees. We are encouraging people to recommend that they go through the American Jobs Organization and the American Jobs Center and get help, which will also get them to the State Department of Labor. But they offer a broader range of services, so we're sending people there, and we're asking for $200,000 to help meet urgent needs for employees of businesses. And then we're looking at marketing and promotion to market and promote these online stores, pop-up stores, changes in businesses, help their customers find them, encourage people to shop Maui, shop local. You can do so much good right now by supporting our community in that way, as well as coming to Maui and continuing to visit other areas of our island. So we're asking for $300,000 there. And the Olowalu Fire Station, this is a sample that we've got. They are looking for now 4 of these stations that could be in Olowalu, by Lahaina Luna, on the Pali, where we also see frequent fires, in the major fire corridors, as well as Kula. These units cost $2.5 million each. And all donors who contribute $100,000 or more get a commemorative plaque on the fire station. And those who contribute $1 million or more will have their name and logo on the fire station. And fire trucks are available. We're seeking 4. The cost is approximately $500,000 each for those fire stations to spread them across our island, because at one point in time, our firefighters were fighting 3 major fires along with 2 smaller pop-ups. It's been a devastating experience. And the banyan tree still stands. And you can see in the middle, it's black. But we are hopeful that the banyan tree will be recovered. And there are many people working on it and experts brought in, and it is a symbol of our resiliency and all of us coming together, just like this meeting is today. It is a symbol of everybody uniting to help a small island in the Pacific, but an island that's beloved worldwide, and to make a positive difference. And we appreciate all listening today, and for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Foundation for giving us this opportunity. Mahalo nui loa.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot for that. Just a great reminder of all disasters being local. And those of us that don't live there have a great opportunity to help those that have been most impacted. I'll turn it over to the CEO for the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, Mr. Kuio Lewis, for his perspective as a Hawaiian nonprofit. So, sir, I'll turn it over to you.
Aloha, everyone. Thank you for being on this call to learn more about what's going on here. I'm Kuhio Lewis. I'm the CEO for the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. We're the largest nonprofit in the state. We're serving Native Hawaiians. We're also SBA micro lender for the state of Hawaii, as well as a CDFI. So, you know, it is devastating. But underneath a lot of what is being underneath of everything that you've all saw is there's a culture, there's a people that have already been ravaged by so many elements. You know, so our focus and our organization is how do we help our Native Hawaiian community recover? They've been decimated. Our Native Hawaiian businesses were already struggling. You know, Lahaina is an important part of our history. Sherry kind of covered that. It used to be the capital of Hawaii at one time. It's where our chiefs are buried. And you know, we have sacred sites in that place that is under rubble right now. So it's really heartbreaking. Our organization is focused on the mental stability of our community. They're just heart-wrenching stories that are coming to us in terms of, you know, grandma and grandpa, they just can't move fast enough. And so they had to leave them behind, you know, to save the babies. There's moms that couldn't open the back seat of the car because it was practically melted to save her child. So there's mental trauma that's occurring in addition to just the devastation of physical property. And so we're looking to support that, providing legal assistance. There's a lot of mistrust within the Hawaiian community as it relates to government. So trying to build bridges so that our Hawaiian community can access the resources that have been made available is really important. You know, our Hawaiian immersion school there, where we had a revitalization of our Hawaiian language in Lahaina was also destroyed. So trying to help them find temporary instruction class space, and just our business community, it's just devastating on what this is going to mean, not just for Lahaina, but for the Maui economy as a whole, where so much dependence is on tourism. And with tourists not coming to Hawaii, you know, you're talking about restaurants being impacted, jobs being impacted. We're in this for the long haul. We're going to be on Maui supporting them, not just today, not tomorrow, but years ahead. But we could use your help specifically to support the recovery efforts to help keep that culture and that indigenous people of Hawaii in place. You know, sadly, we've already lost half of our Hawaiian community. They moved away to the continent. And we need to find a way to keep our Hawaiian people in Hawaii. So this recovery is going to be important. Right now, of course, there's some immediate needs, but I just want you all to keep our Hawaiian community in heart and mind as we try to ensure that our space and our place is around for a lot longer. We have a fund. We're trying to match every dollar that comes in. Our resources will go to help support the revitalization efforts, specifically targeting our Hawaiian community. It's at hawaiiancouncil.org if you want more information. But yeah, I thank you so much for allowing me to share, but just ask that through all of this, that the indigenous people are hurting bad. You know, we have a connection. The land in Hawaii is like family to us. It's not just, it's actually a part of our ecosystem. It's part of our way of life, our breath. It's so, yeah, anyway, thank you.
Thank you for all that you're doing, and know that you're going to do more. Speaking of an organization that's already doing quite a bit and will also do some more, I'll turn it over to the Vice President for Disaster Programs at the American Red Cross, Jennifer Pippa. Jennifer, over to you.
Hi, thanks. First, let me start with, our hearts go out to the folks who have been impacted by this devastating fire. I co-lead the disaster program for the American Red Cross along with Brad Kaiserman. And while I'm in Washington, D.C. right now, he is actually on the ground in Maui, helping us lead our disaster relief operation there. We really have two areas that we're initially focused on. The first is really around mass care, which is the sheltering and the feeding of the folks who have no place else to go. We've been working on that and in conjunction with the Salvation Army, who is also helping us feed the communities that are presenting at those Red Cross shelters. As you heard other speakers refer to, they are starting to open up hotel rooms so that folks can transition from those shelters into more private spaces to provide respect and appropriate lodging for folks. And we're assisting in that process. You heard Denise Everhart, one of our leaders, is there helping folks make the transition from shelters into hotel rooms. The other area of our operation, unfortunately, that we're focused on is the significant loss of life. We know that when families begin to be notified that they have lost loved ones and family members, that is an extremely devastating event for those families. And so we've deployed mental health professionals and spiritual care support to provide support to those families as they begin to process the loss of their loved ones and help them walk through that recovery process as the notifications happen. We have more than 300 volunteers that we've deployed to the island that are helping in the sheltering and the feeding missions. But at the same time, the folks of Maui want to help. They want to help themselves. They want to help their neighbors. And so we've had more than 1,000 local Maui residents raise their hands and ask to join Red Cross in helping in those sheltering and feeding missions. And we've had more than 900 of those folks already deliver Red Cross mission services on behalf of our organization. We know that that's beautiful because there's nothing better than a local Maui family helping another one, while at the same time helps us ease any burden that we might have on the infrastructure when we bring in responders from the mainland in to help deliver those services. We know the long term, this is going to be a long operation, and the Red Cross is committed to staying there and making sure that we are providing support. We are beginning to look at financial assistance, and we hope to start offering financial assistance to individuals and families beginning sometime early to middle of next week. So once again, we can help put money into the hands of folks that can't return home so that as they start to look at longer term housing solutions, they're able to afford those and they have money to replace clothing items, medications, and mental health support as they begin their recovery as well. We are here. We stand by the state of Hawaii. We have a chapter out there. We had local volunteers who were there that very first night opening shelters. The other thing we have seen is that there are a lot of folks who chose not to stay in our shelters. They wanted to stay in their cars or they wanted to stay closer to their homes. And we are sending out convoys of vehicles with hot meals, with mental health professionals to communicate to all those folks who have chosen to stay someplace else that there are resources available, not just Red Cross resources, but all the resources that are available on that island to make sure that they can be connected as well and they can connect with those services as soon as possible. We really stand by, ready to help, and we'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jennifer. We have a couple of questions coming in, and thanks for all the perspectives. I think one question, I'll pose this to Sherry at the Hawaiian Chamber, and that is, as these potential business-to-business needs, whether it's generators, whether it's other kinds of equipment or resources are needed, how do you want to receive that kind of information? Had a couple of questions related to that.
You can email me directly. And then we'll definitely coordinate with Pam and her team, as well as government, to make sure that we can, for example, solar generators can be transported to Hawaii, but we'll definitely be working with them. We can be the point of contact for that.
Okay. And I also know MauiChamber.com has some additional contacts as well. So, and we also have for those that are still with us at the bottom of the hour, we do have a resource page for this disaster on the Chamber Foundation website as well. One question for Mr. Lewis was really related to understanding the type of legal assistance that's needed. I think that's a question to understand. Maybe there's a volunteerism aspect to that. Just trying to understand what the type of legal assistance that's needed. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. FEMA, access to FEMA requires oftentimes insurance claims first to occur. So, and insurance companies are going to be taking their time. They're going to want to find every reason why there's something at fault. There's others that are on leased land, like the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, which is our trust land. So our people just need information. They need to be able to access legal information to help them navigate some of the barriers that they're going to face as they're applying for assistance. So it's that type of legal assistance. There's also land. There's people trying to buy land in Lahaina right now. And there's some families that have opted that, they don't want to live there anymore, which is really sad. But I think having access to attorneys that can help them navigate that is really important.
Okay. The other question, I've got quite a few in here, so apologies, was around timelines, and maybe this goes back to FEMA. Just trying to understand all the different timelines that are that a disaster survivor has to navigate, particularly for whether it's the SBA loan, whether it's individual assistance. Is there any promotion around some of these key dates to ensure that disaster survivors get the kind of assistance that they need?
Well, as you know, Rob, every disaster is different. And so we try to tailor our disaster assistance to that disaster. But one key that I would always encourage people to do is, as soon as you can, whether or not you feel that you have adequate insurance or not, is to go ahead and register for federal assistance and make those applications right up front while you are trying to reach your insurance company and work through all of that, because we'd rather have you in the system begin to jumpstart your recovery as opposed to waiting later and trying to pick people back up through the process. So with the establishment of the DRCs that we will have in the community, and then also the follow-up and meeting people in those communities, going directly to them, we want to go ahead and get people signed up. Sometimes the process does take a while for us to work with the state about what the full gamut and suite of programs that they would offer for housing and things like that. So we work with them. They will scope those programs for reimbursement, but for individual assistance, we also want to get people signed up immediately and get that process going. Overall, this again has been expressed. This is going to be a very long-term recovery, and it begins even right now with the phase that we're in for search and recovery. That is not a short process. We have single units that have been evaluated and cleared, but there are multifamily dwellings, multi-tiered dwellings that have to be gone through with care and as well. So that process is ongoing. That is going to take probably several weeks. And so we're asking for patience. And what's been expressed on here is to treat the area with the dignity and respect that those lives deserve and those surviving families deserve as well.
Thanks for that. We've got, I think, time for one more question. And I think this is probably best addressed by the Red Cross. And it's around any kind of communal list of in-kind needs, and is that being shared through the Red Cross or by any of the Red Cross's partners?
So currently, we are not bringing additional items for distribution on. Really, right now, the focus is helping our folks move from those shelters into those hotels. Once we get folks settled in a safe, sanitary, conditions in those hotels, we'll start looking what the unmet needs are. We'll be able to furnish a list at that point about what kind of in-kind donations we'll be looking for. But we really want the community to be able to tell us once they settle into a place that's safe that they can stay in, to tell us what they need, and then we'll provide that list and communicate that back out.
Thanks. Thanks for that. That's helpful. And I know that there's probably one or two questions we didn't get to, but just in the interest of time, want to thank all of the panelists that have taken time out of their day and out of their own response in order to share the perspective with us. I think as what we heard is that this is really just in the beginning, but this is really also the call to action. And so I think that every speaker shared some, whether it's a personal anecdote about history, something related to what's occurred because of the tragedy, or a hint of hope and optimism in the future resilience for Maui and the people that unfortunately have experienced this tragedy. Those of us that have the means to do something should do it. And so the road to recovery does start now, just like Deputy Administrator Hooks from FEMA just said. So you should take that to heart. And so if you're a company that's trying to think through where you need or want to share resources, there will be a time for that. We have the corporate aid tracker up on our website. If you don't see yourself there and you're doing something, please let us know. If you are considering doing something, please let us know. We'd love to put you into touch with a number of these organizations that are represented here today. We know that the commitment needs to be sustained for this disaster, and these organizations that have shared their perspectives today will certainly do that. And I would just want to say that if you have any questions whatsoever about the work that we do at the Chamber Foundation, please reach out to us at resilience@uschamber.com. I do want to thank the companies that have funded our work at the Chamber Foundation, but also the work of those that we just heard of as well. We will be sending out the recording of this meeting, as well as an email with a short readout of this meeting as well, along with a list of the resources that were mentioned too. So thanks for those of you that participated as panelists, and also to all of you that joined looking to take action to address these humanitarian challenges now and well into the future for the betterment of Maui as it recovers from these devastating fires. Thanks again for joining, and this terminates the call today. Thank you.